Promotion Agency. So we are going to start and give your speech, please.
عندي une présentation PowerPoint. Normalement, elle est بعتنا لهم déjà. Pas la présentation. Good morning, everyone. We will start in few moments, just the time to display the PowerPoint presentation. So, again, good morning, everyone. I am Iman Toumi from the Algerian Investment Promotion Agency, and I will try to present the business climate and the investment opportunities in Algeria in sector-specific figures. And please, next slide, please. We will see in short why Algeria. We will start with the macroeconomic indicators. So Algeria has registered in 2024 an economic growth of 4.4%. That has led us to be the third economy in Africa. And this growth is driven by the value added of, as you can see, the sectors of hydrocarbon and services mainly, which leaves room to other sectors such as industry, agriculture, tourism to expand and to develop more. And as you can also see, the inflation rate has been stabilized from 9% down to 4%. And we have a very insignificant external indebtedness rate, which reflects a very solid and healthy external financial situation. So all these indicators together demonstrate a stable and growing economy ready to host new investments. Next slide, please. Regarding the production factors, Algeria stands among the top countries in this field, as we have abundant natural resources that enable us to offer cheap labor, cheap energy, water, and other costs in a cheap price, as well as we have abundant natural resources ranging from the minerals, iron ore, gold, silver, zinc, lead, going to proven oil and gas reserves. We also do have a strong solar radiation, strong wind corridors, and water, underground water, because Algeria has 70% of the Albian aquifer in its territory, which is one of the biggest aquifers in the world. As the agricultural lands also, Algeria has arable lands all across its 2 million square kilometers of area. Next slide, please. Next. So now we will see the opportunities per sector. We will start with the agricultural sector. We have as you can see, 48 million hectares of agricultural lands. Part of them has contributed to satisfy 74% of our alimentary needs. And there are some specific sector aids for investors. For example, farms that exceed or equal or exceed 10,000 hectares can benefit from the Green Corridor, which provide them land concessions for 40 years, a symbolic rental fee of 1 dinar per hectare, and a bona fide interest rate of 1%. So in this sector, we have identified some opportunities that revolve around the development of livestock and the plant production, the processing of this production and this harvest, the manufacture of machinery, and the implementation of storage facilities. Next, please. When it comes to fisheries, despite the huge potential that Algeria has, this sector is still largely underexploited. And if we have to mention one specific or the main incentive measure of this sector is that the sector offers tax relief on value-added tax and customs duties on fish feed. Next, please. ICT, so Algeria now is moving towards digital transition. We are implementing new regulations. Recently, on May 7th, a new regulation on PSP, payment services providers, has been issued to enable those companies working in the field of providing payment services to establish in Algeria. And in this regard, we still need to implement all the electronic services with the underlying infrastructure and the security, the necessary security systems, so that we will be able to establish e-administration, e-payment, telemedicine, and so on and so forth. Next, please. In the hydraulic sector, Algeria has a very, let's say, a modern governance model, because our government has already established 16 seawater desalination plants. They are fully operational right now, and we are aiming to implement 10 more plants. So in this regard, there still be some opportunities to be seized, such as the manufacture of desalination systems, pumps, transfers, and storage facilities. And there is also another point to mention about hydraulics, is that investors can have the authorization to drill wells in their premises. Next, please. Regarding tourism, such as fisheries and so many other sectors, the potential of Algeria is unexploited, with our national parks, UNESCO sites, archaeological ruins, beaches, forests, and Sahara. There's still a lot to be done in this sector, whether it is mass tourism or niche tourism, and so on. Next, please. In the mining field, there are some, let's say, iconic mega projects that have been launched recently. Just to mention just one, the Garage Billet iron mine in Tindouf. So this mine is supposed to produce 2 million tons of iron per year. And you can imagine all the surrounding SMEs and other investment that can be implemented around in order to process this production. And of course, efforts are also made in the research and development, as we still need some exploration units, some units for airborne geophysics, and mapping units. Next, please. For the new and renewable energies, there are also two major mega projects that have been launched in Algeria. The first of them is the 15,000 megawatt solar capacity that is being currently implemented. A part of 3,200 megawatts are already under construction. So this program has let's say, a feature that has the obligation of local content in it. So many SMEs and many other investment can be implemented to provide the manufacturing, the equipment and so on, and the materials. And there is this other project, which is the South H2 corridor, which is supposed to transport green hydrogen from Algeria to Europe, through Tunisia and Italy, and it will be fully operational by 2030. And on this time, the program of the 15,000 megawatt of solar PV capacity will also be fully operational, and it will provide hydrogen producers with the green electricity to be able to electrolyze water and produce green hydrogen. Next, please. In the mechanics and chemical sector, I think that I will let my colleague from the Ministry of Industry, Mrs. Assia Zarour, take care of it in details. Next slide, please. So we will conclude the opportunities with the pharmaceutical sector, in which 74% of the local needs are met locally, but we still need to develop more. We still need to establish fully integrated value chains, and some examples are injectable solutions and anti-cancer medicines. So for this, we need to establish new manufacturing units, to develop distribution channels, and enhance R&D. Next, please. There is still one more industry, which is the agri-food industry. So as we have already seen with the agricultural opportunities, all the harvest and all the production still needs to be processed and proposed to the domestic as well as to the neighboring countries and the continental markets. Next, please. So those were the opportunities. Now we will see the incentive scheme that gives incentives to investors. The incentives are managed by two bodies. The first one is the National Investment Council, which is composed of ministers in charge of setting the strategies and following the implementation. And the second body is the Algerian Investment Promotion Agency, the agency I work for, which is in charge of field operations, which is also the sole, or let's say the unique interlocutor of investors, as we support investors and we grant advantages to investors. Next, please. So the advantages are given according to three regimes, depending on the features of each project. Next, please. The three regimes give the same advantages, but with different durations according to assessment grids of the features of each project. And during the implementation phase, we can mention that the investment is the investment benefits from the total break from value-added tax, for example, customs duties. And when an investment enters into operation, it benefits from corporate profit tax. This is the regulatory framework established since 2022. And starting from 2024, the agency has started to grant economic lands, which are industrial, touristic, and urban lands, excepting the agricultural lands that are granted by the Ministry of Agriculture. So those lands are granted for 33 years, and the application process is fully digitalized. Next, please. To benefit from the advantages, it is very simple. An investor has only to visit the investor's digital platform, invest.gov.dz, or to come physically to our 59 one-stop shops when he will be taken care of, and he will find, in addition to the personnel of the agency, he will find the representatives from many sectors involved in the investment procedure. So that was, at a glance, the business climate in Algeria and the opportunities. If you wish to have more information or details, don't hesitate to visit our digital platforms and to come to our agency. Thank you for your attention and for attending this session.
Shukran. Thank you very much, Iman Toumi, Mrs. Iman Toumi, manager at the Algerian Investment Promotion Agency. Thank you for all these informations. It's my pleasure now to call Mr. Fahri Hamza, Vice Minister, Ministry of Housing and Settlement of Indonesia. Thank you so much and welcome.
No. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa salatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in amma ba'd. It is a great honor to be here today at the annual meeting of the ISDB in Algiers. On behalf of the government of the Republic of Indonesia, I wish to extend our warm greetings and express our deep appreciation to the hosts for their hospitality and to all members of the ISDB group for their continued commitment to inclusive and sustainable development and addressing common economic challenges. I'm here representing the government of Indonesia and the new government of Indonesia, led by President Prabowo, while I myself represent as the spokesperson of the president. But now I'm placed in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, or Ministry of Housing and Settlement. The basic ideas of new government is to face two things in our society. As you realize, Indonesia is the largest Muslim population in the world. We now reach 290 million people of Indonesia, which consists of 93 million families living in the 17,000 islands. We have 38 provinces and 516,000 cities and regencies, living under close to 10,000 municipalities and 75 or 80,000 villages in Indonesia, while 13,000 of them living on the coastal area. We still have 1% extreme population, extreme poverty on our population, and that's why the aim of the government, the new government, want to massively reduce the poverty by doing, basically, number one is we stop corruption. Our new government implement a very strict regulation now on stop corruption, because this is creating the leakage in the economy. So we need to stop the leakage of the economy. The second one is to stop the gap between rich and poor in our economy. That's why the government imposed since beginning the free meal program for more than 84 million students of Indonesia. And we also since the beginning of the government, creating a new ministry, which is my ministry, Ministry of Housing and Settlement, to build and renovate 3 million houses of Indonesia per year. This is very big number, but knowing that we face a very big backlog in our society, which is we have a 10 million ownership backlog and 26 million uneducated housing. So government of Indonesia under President Prabowo want to start to renovate and build the house and the settlement of the people of Indonesia. From 1 million new housing building, the government will concentrate on building vertical housing and also doing the campaign on how to live vertical, because mostly the people of Indonesia still living on the landed housing. Now we want to renovate and build density cities all over Indonesia. We have 8,000 small cities in Indonesia to start living vertical. This is giving a very huge amount of investment, and we invite the private sector to invest in the housing program, because the government will only give the subsidy to the land price, which the government stated that the land will be very, very low, even zero. So every construction company and developer can build on all the cities of Indonesia the vertical house. The second one is the government will renovate 2 million houses every year. We will put this budget on our national budget, which is close to $3 billion per year in our national budget, to renovate. So the house of the people of Indonesia will increase in the quality, and quality house will also can use as the collateral, while the people, small business enterprises, can start to deal with the bank. As Indonesia living also 30,000 coastal area, we are the archipelagic nation. So the people, the government of Indonesia also want to renovate every year 1,200 settlement on the coastal area. So by renovating the coastal area, we will have a good location for the fishermen and also the production of protein, because the government of Indonesia also proclaimed that Indonesia will have food security and energy security. So the renovation of the coastal area will cost us close to $2 billion. We thank you for the ISDB, because we already discussed and settled some of the program in this area, and we open everybody, every institution and investment to come and see us in the details, what is the project, mega project in this housing program. I think the renovation of and building of 3 million houses every year in Indonesia would becoming one of the largest mega project in the history of mankind. So welcome to Indonesia. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fahri Hamza, Vice Minister, Ministry of Housing and Settlement of Indonesia. Thank you very much for your speech. It's my pleasure now to call Mrs. Asya Zarur, General Manager in charge of Industrial Investment and SMEs Promotion, Ministry of Industry.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. سعيدة بتواجدي معكم اليوم في هذا المنتدى الهام جدا لكل الدول الإسلامية. وأعرف بنفسي أولاً السيدة زعرور آسيا، مديرة عامة للاستثمار الصناعي وترقية المؤسسات الصغيرة والمتوسطة بوزارة الصناعة الجزائرية. سعيدة بتواجدي معكم اليوم حتى أقدم عرضاً عن استراتيجية التنويع الصناعي في الجزائر. يجب أن نذكر أولاً أن الجزائر اليوم اعتمدت نموذجاً جديداً للنمو الاقتصادي يهدف إلى تنويع الاقتصاد وتطوير القدرة التنافسية للشركات من خلال تشجيع الاستثمار الذي يعد من بين أهم أدوات تحقيق التنمية الاقتصادية، خلق الثروة وتوفير مناصب العمل، مع توفير بيئة محفزة وقادرة على تحقيق تطور المؤسسات وديمومتها. تلتزم الجزائر اليوم تمام الالتزام أيضاً بتحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة من خلال التركيز على التصنيع المستدام، ترشيد الموارد وكفاءة الطاقات وتطوير القطاعات المحلية ضمن استراتيجية شاملة مستنبطة من نهج عالمي فرضته التحديات الجديدة. في هذا السياق تأتي استراتيجية التنويع الصناعي المتبناة من الدولة الجزائرية كأحد أبرز ركائز نموذج النمو الاقتصادي الجديد. هذه الاستراتيجية، استراتيجية التنويع الصناعي، ترتكز على رؤية شاملة ومتكاملة تسعى إلى تحقيق غايات مثلى، وهي أن تكون صناعة نمو ديناميكية، صناعة شاملة ومستدامة، وهي مبنية على محددات أساسية أهمها خلق الثروة الاقتصادية وفرص العمل، المساهمة في الرفع من قدرات التصدير، رشادة استخدام الإنفاق العام والموارد الطبيعية. تعتمد هذه الاستراتيجية على سياسات تنويع متعددة الأبعاد: تنويع الإنتاج، تنويع الموردين، وتنويع الأسواق التي توجه إليها السلع المنتجة محلياً. كما تقوم مخططات التنويع الصناعي في الجزائر على تطوير فروع الإنتاج ذات الأولوية وفقاً لمساهمتها في تحقيق أهداف السياسة الاقتصادية العامة: الأمن الغذائي، الصحي والاقتصادي، إحلال الإنتاج الوطني محل الواردات، الاعتماد على الموارد المتوفرة محلياً، إنشاء صناعات جديدة تعتمد على البحث والابتكار والمعرفة، الصعود التدريجي في سلاسل القيم العالمية. ولأن كل سياسة اقتصادية تتطلب تحضير بيئة مناسبة لخلق المؤسسات ديمومتها واستقرارها، عملت الجزائر على تحضير هذه البيئة من خلال: أولاً، الإصلاحات العميقة على كل المنظومات القانونية ذات الصلة بالاستثمار، وأبرزها قانون الاستثمار، قانون العقار الاقتصادي، الصفقات العمومية، الإصلاح الجبائي، رقمنة الاقتصاد، وإطلاق استراتيجية وطنية للشفافية والوقاية ومحاربة الفساد سنة 2023. كما عملت الدولة الجزائرية على تهيئة الأراضي الموجهة للاستثمار. تحوز الجزائر اليوم على حافظة أراضي موجهة للاستثمار بمساحة إجمالية تقارب 39,000 هكتار، موزعة على 115 منطقة صناعية، منها 50 منطقة صناعية جديدة، وإلى جانب 641 منطقة نشاطات موزعة على كامل التراب الوطني. تعمل الجزائر أيضاً على الانفتاح على تدفق الاستثمارات الأجنبية. وقعت الجزائر 47 معاهدة ثنائية لحماية وترقية الاستثمار، انضمت إلى بروتوكول الاستثمار لمنطقة التجارة الحرة القارية الإفريقية التي تضم 54 دولة، وهي في طور التفاوض حول اتفاقية الاستثمار العربية الموحدة التي تضم كل دول المنطقة العربية وهي اتفاقية معدة أو تتضمن مبادئ الجيل الجديد لاتفاقيات الاستثمار. ننتقل الآن إلى عرض الفرص الاستثمارية في قطاع الصناعة في الجزائر. يتمتع القطاع الصناعي اليوم بأكبر قابلية للتطور واستقطاب رؤوس الأموال الوطنية والأجنبية، وهو يحوي على فرص استثمارية كبيرة في شعب صناعية متعددة: الصناعات الميكانيكية، الغذائية، الكهربائية والمنزلية، الصناعات الكيميائية، صناعة المواد، الصناعات التكنولوجية المتقدمة، النسيج والجلود، صناعات الحديد والتعدين. وكما سبق وأن ذكرت زميلتي من ممثلة الوكالة الجزائرية لترقية الاستثمار، كل الموارد متوفرة ومتاحة لتطوير هذه الفرص الاستثمارية في الشعب التي سنذكرها. بالنسبة للصناعات الميكانيكية البحرية والطيران، هناك فرص استثمارية هائلة في مجال صناعة المركبات الصناعية، سيارات نقل الأشخاص والسيارات النفعية بكل أنواعها، كل أنواع الآلات الزراعة والأشغال العمومية، الري والبناء، المحركات وهياكل المركبات، كل المعدات وقطع الغيار لمحركات السيارات والجرارات، صناعات الحاويات، تصنيع وصناعة قاطرات القطار والترامواي، صناعات متعلقة بالطيران، بناء السفن بأنواعها. لتذكير، تم وضع نظام خاص دعم جبائي خاص بنشاط صناعة المركبات بموجب المرسوم التنفيذي رقم 22/324 الذي يحدد شروط وكيفيات ممارسة نشاط تصنيع المركبات. يمكن هذا النظام مصنعو المركبات الذين تحصلوا على اعتماد من الوزارة بعد تحقيق نسبة إدماج دنيا تقدر ب10% من الاستفادة من النظام الجبائي التفضيلي الذي يتضمن إعفاءات وحقوق مخفضة على المدخلات المستوردة أو المقتناة محلياً المستعملة في نشاطهم. بالنسبة للصناعات الكهربائية والإلكترونية والمنزلية، ورغم الخطوات العملاقة التي حققتها الصناعة الجزائرية في هذا المجال، حيث وصلت نسبة الإدماج في هذه الشعبة إلى أكثر من 80%، إلا أنه هناك فرص استثمارية واعدة في كثير من الشعب الفرعية، مثلاً المنتجات الكهربائية والإلكترونية الموجهة للصناعات والإنتاج والأنشطة الاقتصادية، معدات التكنولوجيا، مولدات الكهرباء ومحولات ذات الطاقة العالية، المعدات ذات الضغط العالي والمتوسط وأجزاؤها، البطاريات، معدات الكهرباء لتطوير شبكات الكهرباء الذكية، اللوحات المتكاملة، المكونات الإلكترونية المعدة للصيانة الصناعية. في هذا المجال أيضاً نذكر أن هذه الشعبة قد حظيت بنظام جبائي خاص بها بموجب المرسوم التنفيذي رقم 20/313 الذي ينص على إعفاء المواد الأولية المستوردة أو المقتناة محلياً، وكذا المكونات المصنعة لدى المقاولين من الباطن من حقوق الجمركية والرسم على القيمة المضافة. ثالث شعبة التي تتضمن فرص استثمارية هامة، نشاط المناولة أو التعاقد من الباطن للصناعات الميكانيكية والكهربائية. يتضمن هذا النشاط فرص استثمارية هائلة بالنظر للاتجاه الذي يعرفه قطاع الصناعة اليوم نحو تشجيع فرعي نشاط الميكانيك والكهرباء. تلتزم وزارة الصناعة اليوم بدعم المناولين لتحسين قدراتهم الفنية، التكنولوجية، الإدارية والمالية، كما ترافقهم في حصولهم على الاعتمادات لدى المصنعين، مما سيمكنهم من تطوير العرض وفقاً للمعايير الدولية. هذا النشاط أيضاً يحظى بدعم الدولة، إذ يستفيد من منظومة مزايا جبائية لصالح شركات المناولة وفقاً للمرسوم التنفيذي رقم 20-311. هناك فرص استثمارية في شعب أخرى: الصناعات الكيميائية، والتي تعتبر مجالاً خصباً وثرياً بالفرص الاستثمارية لكل المستثمرين، أهمها في الصناعات البتروكيماوية، الصناعات الكيماوية الأساسية، الغازات الصناعية، الأمونيا واليوريا والكحول الإيثيلي، الدهانات الصناعية والدهانات الذكية. شعبة الصناعات الغذائية أيضاً تحوي على فرص استثمارية هامة، لا سيما في إنشاء مجمعات مدمجة في الفروع الاستراتيجية: الحبوب، تغذية الأنعام، الزيوت، تطوير شعب تحويل المنتجات الفلاحية والبحرية، الحليب المجفف بأنواعه، أغذية الأطفال، وتطوير الصناعات المضافات الغذائية. بالنسبة للصناعات الفولاذية والمعدنية، ورغم الإنجازات العظيمة التي حققتها الجزائر في هذا الميدان، حيث انتقلت خلال 5 سنوات فقط من بلد مستورد لهذه المنتجات إلى بلد مصدر، إلا أنه بفضل توفر المواد الأولية على غرار منجم غار جبيلات والطاقات الكهربائية والغازية، هناك فرص استثمارية واعدة في الفروع الشعب الفرعية لهذه الصناعة: مجمعات الحديد والصلب والمسابك وأعمال الصلب، مختلف منتجات الحديد الصلب والتعدين، الأنابيب الملحومة وغير الملحومة والقضبان، المنتجات المعدنية الأخرى: النيكل والسيليكون والتيتانيوم وغيرها، المنتجات المعدنية المستخدمة كإضافات في سبائك الحديد، تحويل وإعادة تدوير المعادن غير الحديدية. شعبة أخرى وهي شعبة صناعة المواد بمختلف أنواعها، تحتوي على فرص استثمارية كبيرة في مواد البناء ذات قدرة العزل العالية، الآجر الحراري، الورق ومنتجات الورق، الزجاج بمختلف فروعه شعبه الفرعية مثل الألياف الزجاجية والصوف الزجاجي والمنتجات النهائية، مواد التعبئة الموجهة لتغليف المنتجات لا سيما المواد الغذائية. الجزائر اليوم أيضاً بحاجة إلى استثمارات كثيرة في مجال لتنمية صناعة التكنولوجيا المتقدمة، لا سيما أجهزة التحكم والتنظيم الأوتوماتيكي للمنشآت الصناعية، أجهزة القياس والتحكم والآلات وأجهزة الاختبار، أجهزة الهيدرولوجيا والجيوفيزياء، آلات الموازنة، وكل الآلات ذات التكنولوجيا المتقدمة والتحكم عن بعد. بالنسبة لقطاع المنسوجات والجلود، هناك فرص استثمارية في إنتاج الألياف التركيبية والصناعية، الخيوط الأقمشة والملابس، معالجة وتحويل الجلود، الأحذية بأنواعها، مع التأكيد على وجود كل المواد الأولية، الخبرة واليد العاملة المؤهلة. آخر جزء من المداخلة يتمثل في المشاريع الشراكة التي تعرضها المؤسسات العمومية الاقتصادية التي تقع تحت سلطة وزارة الصناعة. بما أننا في منتدى يوجه إلى القطاع الخاص، يجب أن نذكر أن القطاع العمومي في الجزائر قطاع قوي وينشط في مجالات وفروع متعددة، وهو يعرض اليوم فرص استثمارية وفرص شراكة مع شركاء وطنيين وأجانب في مختلف الشعب، حيث القطاع العمومي الذي تشرف عليه وزارة الصناعة يعرض حافظة مشاريع استثمارية مع متعاملين وطنيين وأجانب تشمل على 55 مشروعاً جاهزاً للدراسة، مقدمة من طرف 37 مؤسسة عمومية اقتصادية تنشط في مختلف الفروع الصناعية. يمكن الاطلاع عليها في الروابط التالية المتواجدة على مستوى الصفحة الرئيسية لوزارة الصناعة. ومن أجل مساهمة القطاع الخاص في تطوير النشاط الاقتصادي والدخول في شراكة مع الشركات العمومية الاقتصادية. هناك خطوات يجب اتباعها معروضة أيضاً على الصفحة الرئيسية للوزارة، تبدأ من التعبير عن الاهتمام الذي يأتي من الشريك المهتم بهذه المشاريع، وتنتهي بموافقة هيئة عليا هي مجلس مساهمات الدولة، مما يعطي ضماناً أكبر لنجاح هذه المشاريع. هذه هي المشاريع المعروضة من القطاع العمومي في الجزائر، حيث يعرض في الخانة الأولى المجمع أو الهولدينج الرئيسي، ثم المؤسسة المعنية بهذه الشراكة، ووصف المشروع بدقة حتى يتسنى لمن يهتم بهذه المشاريع التعبير عن الاهتمام مباشرة والدخول في مفاوضات مع الشركة المعنية. كل هذا تجدونه على الصفحة الرسمية لوزارة الصناعة. يمكن عرض يعني بسرعة جميع الصفحات إلى غاية النهاية. نشكركم على حسن الانتباه وحسن الإصغاء، وشكرا جزيلا.
Shukran jazilan. Thank you, Mrs. Asya Zarour, General Manager in charge of Industrial Investment and SMEs Promotion, Ministry of Industry. Thank you for your speech. It's my honor now to call Mr. Mohammed Safri Shahood Hamid, Chief Executive Officer, International Islamic Liquidity Management Corporation. مرحبا.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And a very good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure for me to be here this morning before distinguished panelists. Thank you so much to the host, to the organizer for this 2025 ISDB annual meeting. It's always a pleasure for me to be here on behalf of the International Islamic Liquidity Management, which is a very unique name. So if I were to do a survey, right, today, this morning, a quick show of hands from our distinguished participants, right, in terms of how many of you have heard of ILM, International Islamic Liquidity Management, right? I will probably see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so perhaps 20% max, right? And so I'm sure Fadlo knows about ILM, so he's a bit shy this morning from BPKH, but not many people in this room know of ILM. And so I had to explain ILM to my wife in Kuala Lumpur. So I'm Malaysian, so we are based in Kuala Lumpur. So ILM, as the name says, stands for the International Islamic Liquidity Management. So if I can just go back, or rather go down to the next slide, just moving forward to the next slide. It's a unique Islamic institution. It's one and only. So we are founded rather by a group of prolific monetary central banks and ICD. So we've got 8 central banks, including Bank Indonesia, Central Bank of Indonesia, Central Bank of Malaysia, Bank Negara Malaysia. We have Central Bank of Mauritius, Qatar Central Bank of Nigeria, Central Bank of Republic of Turkey, Central Bank of Kuwait, Central Bank of the United Arab Emirates, and last but not least, our host for today, ICD. So ICD is a unique one as well, because ICD is the only non-central bank who founds ILM back in 2010. So in terms of the governance structure, we've got the General Assembly and the governing board manning the governing structure of ILM, and underpinning that, we've got a series of board committees comprising of Board Executive Committee, Board Risk Management Committee, Board Audit Committee, and of course, the Sharia Committee. Next slide. So in terms of what we do, for the benefit of Islamic banks globally, being a unique Islamic institution. So that goes back to, before I cover this rather very busy slide, right? It's a very busy slide. It's going to confuse everyone today. Right, so I'm just going to slice and dice this slide, and I'm trying my best to untangle this slide into something which is very simple for the benefit of Islamic banks in Algeria or in Indonesia or in Malaysia or in Qatar or in Kuwait. Right, Islamic banking is growing. So everyone in this room can agree that Islamic banking is growing, right? So back in 2010, Islamic finance was hovering at about $1 trillion. Today, the size of Islamic finance is at, quick show of hands, over 4 trillion US dollar. So we have grown from 1 trillion to $4 trillion within the span of 15 years. 15, not 50, 15. So Islamic finance is outpacing its conventional peer, the conventional financing system that has been around for hundreds of years. Islamic finance is only about 50 years old, 60 years old at max. The first Islamic bank in the world opened its door in 1975, a modern Islamic bank. It's called Dubai Islamic Bank in Dubai, right? And now the size of Islamic finance is at 4 trillion. So as Islamic banks continue to grow, so will their liquidity management requirements. Liquidity management is one of the most important activities undertaken by every single bank in town, every single bank in the world, Islamic or conventional. If you manage the liquidity in the most appropriate, in the most prudent manner, then Islamic banks will continue to grow. But unfortunately, unlike the conventional finance system, that is more mature than the Islamic banking system, the Islamic finance is still at that infancy stage. We are not even an adult yet. Am I right? In Algeria, for example, the size of Islamic finance is at less than 10%. In Indonesia, the size of Islamic finance is about 10%. In Malaysia, the size of Islamic finance is about 50%. These are Muslim majority countries: Malaysia, Indonesia, Algeria. Muslim majority countries. Yet, we have not been able to achieve a more respectable percentage, right? By right, the Islamic banking in Malaysia should be at about 100%. Islamic banking should be the default proposition in Algeria, given that more than 99% of the population in Nigeria are Muslims. Am I right? Close to 100%, right? The population of Algeria are Muslims. But unfortunately, we have to play that catch-up game, which is why IILM was set up to issue short-term sukuk on a monthly basis, something that we've been doing for the last 12 years, so that Islamic banks in the world can invest in short-term sukuk and use it, right, as their high-quality liquid asset for them to meet this one important ratio that was prescribed by the Basel Committee called LCR, Liquidity Coverage Ratio. Am I confusing everyone yet, or have I been successful in confusing 90% of the population in this room? So far so good, right? So we have this LCR. Just to recap, right? We have this LCR, Liquidity Coverage Ratio. So the formula of the ratio is high quality liquid asset over net cash outflow for that 30-day period. And the reason why the Basel Committee came up with this ratio, the main reason is because of the series of the global financial crisis that we had gone through, right, in the last few decades. The GFCs, series of GFCs, where we saw a lot of banks went down south. A lot of banks failed because of their inability to manage the liquidity. So Basel Committee came up with this ratio, right? So the numerator of that ratio is high quality liquid assets, HQLA. So IILM provides high quality liquid assets for the Islamic banks on a monthly basis since 2011. So we've been issuing sukuk month in, month out since 2011 without fail, despite the series of geopolitical events, despite the pandemic COVID-19 event, despite the blockade in Qatar, despite the Arab Spring in the Middle East, despite all the events, ILM has never failed to issue sukuk, hovering at about $1 billion every month without fail. So if I can go to the next slide. Oh, this is going to be another confusing slide. In fact, I'm as confused as you are. So let me just keep this slide, right, for the benefit of everyone. Let me just keep the slide and go to the other slide. This is a lot more simpler slide. So what do we do, right, in terms of the structure of ILM? So on the left-hand side, we have these short-term issuances. On the right-hand side, we have long-term funding assets. So what does ILM do? IILM, we have that ILM issuer, SPV, Special Purpose Vehicle, will issue sukuk to the investors. These are Islamic banks from all over the world. The Islamic banks or the investors will then pass the money to ILM on the left-hand side, and the money, the proceeds, will be in the middle, right, of the slide. The money will flow from IILM issuer to IILM Holding, SPV. IILM Holding will then use the money to buy assets. So we will buy assets from asset obligors also via sukuk. At one end, we issue short-term sukuk. At the other end, we invest in long-term sukuk. That's it. That's what we do. Sukuk is the name of the game for IILM. Sukuk is our bread and butter. Sukuk is the tajin of ILM. That's it. And we are the most prolific sukuk issuer in the world. So we can just go down to the next slide. Next, please. Yeah, this is our prolific investors globally. As you can see, we have quite a number of investors, quite a number of Islamic and conventional banks from the GCC, from Asia, from Turkey, and we have one global primary dealer in Standard Chartered Bank. So these guys are our primary dealers. They are our investors. They will be buying our sukuk on a monthly basis on their behalf as well as on behalf of the other Islamic investors. And these other Islamic investors can be banks, can be non-banks, can be pension funds, they can be central banks, they can be sovereign wealth funds, and they can be anyone who are keen to buying high-quality, liquid, tradable Islamic instruments on a monthly basis. Next slide. Yeah, so this is a very busy slide. I'm just going to basically be covering one point from this slide, the fact that our sukuk is highly rated. So we have a couple of rating agencies there in S&P, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch, according a very high rating of A1 and F1 to our sukuk. So if I can just untangle this into something a lot simpler. we have ISDB member countries, right? Most of the Islamic countries are member countries of the Islamic Development Bank. Amongst all the ISDB member countries, can I have a show of hands? There's no prize for guessing. If you look at all the rating scale that has been accorded by the rating agencies, right, whether it's S&P, Fitch, or even Moody's, how many of these Muslim majority countries are rated A and above? Can I have a show of hands? How many of these Muslim majority countries are actually rated A and above? For the record, US is double A. US was a triple A 2 weeks ago. It is now double A. The US as in the United States of America. So how many of this in the Muslim majority countries are rated A and above? Quick show of hands. Yeah, Pak Fadlo? 5. Yes. Almost. Right? There are only 4. Only 4 countries in the Islamic world that are rated A and above. Just the 4. Qatar, Saudi, Kuwait, and last but not least, UAE. Only 4. So in our case, our job is to fund assets which are rated minimum A for the benefit of Islamic banks globally. Can you imagine? We have so many Islamic-centric countries. We have so many Muslim majority countries. Only 4 are rated A and above. Right? So our job is to fund sovereigns. We are to fund SOEs. We are to fund GREs. We are to fund supranationals rated A and above. And we do that. We do that frequently. In fact, next week we have one from Saudi, $500 million. Inshallah. So next slide. Next slide. Yeah, next slide, please. Perhaps the next slide. So as I said earlier, as of today is 22nd of May. So we have seen close to about 28 billion sukuk issued in the global market. In fact, this has excluded one sukuk that was issued yesterday by Masraf Al-Rayan from Qatar. So it's about 30 billion sukuk that was issued globally. And ILM has issued close to about 7 billion. So we have issued close to about 24%, 25% of total sukuk issued globally. We will continue to do so, right, for the benefit of Islamic banks globally. So this is a very interesting slide. Just like the tagine that is being sold in Algeria, in some of the most famous restaurants in Algeria, where you see so many people going in to have that very nice tagine, our sukuk continues to attract strong interest from the Islamic investors. So these percentages that you're seeing, right, from the 310% all the way to 281% represent what we call a bid to cover ratio, a BTC. So for every $1 of sukuk that we issue, the demand from the investors will be close to 3 times. So we do about $1.4 billion a month. The book will be close to $3 billion every month. Alhamdulillah. Which means that Islamic banks are growing. So this is a fantastic barometer. It's a fantastic indicator on the growth of the Islamic banks globally. Next slide. Next. Next slide. Yeah, this is one thing which is very interesting. Islamic finance is restricted, is constrained, is limited, right? It's not a matured proposition. We know that, right? So if you were to buy a Republic of Indonesia sukuk today, or a government of Malaysia sukuk today, for the sake of discussion, government of Malaysia is rated A-. Republic of Indonesia, which I had the privilege of working with MOF for many, many years, is rated BBB. So if I were an investor, if I were to invest in Republic of Indonesia sukuk, which is rated BBB, today, on the 22nd of May, right? If I were to sell Republic of Indonesia, SUN sukuk, tomorrow, on the 23rd of May, what is the likelihood that I'm going to be able to buy another sukuk rated BBB in the Islamic world? Is there any other sovereign rated BBB in the Islamic world? None. So the scarcity value, as we call it, the scarcity value. In the conventional space, if I were to sell Mexico, buy Mexico today, I can sell Mexico and buy Poland tomorrow. I can sell Mexico and buy Slovenia tomorrow, for example, in the conventional bond space. In the sukuk space, if I were to sell the Republic of Indonesia sukuk, tomorrow I won't be able to buy a similar rated from the investor's perspective. Similarly, Malaysian government, A- rating. Again, if I were to buy Malaysian government, today I won't be able to sell and find something else of the same credit rating. But for IILM, because we issue sukuk every month, without fail, so people can buy today and sell tomorrow and buy the next day. It's tradable. It's a sukuk, which is a fixed income instrument, which is a tradable instrument, which is a highly liquid instrument. So yes, so much so that even though the mandate of ILM is to serve the Islamic banks, before I take a pause, conventional investors now account for about 17%. Even the conventional investors are buying into our sukuk. Because of our safe haven. If you remember, we have that A rated, right? So a lot of people, they like the fact that we are safe. If you buy into ILM, the probability of us defaulting or not being able to pay the investors is very low. So that's the reason why even the conventional investors are buying into our sukuk. I guess this is my last slide. I have a few more slides, but it's going to confuse everyone. Let me just take a pause and perhaps address questions from the floor later. Thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much for your speech. Mr. Shahood Hamid, Chief Executive Officer, International Islamic Liquidity Management Corporation. Thank you for sharing with us some key information about especially liquidity management. Thank you, Asia Zarour, General Manager in charge of industrial investment. Thank you for sharing with us the Algerian Ministry of Industries strategy. Thank you, Mr. Fahri Hamza, Vice President, Ministry of Housing and Settlement of Indonesia. Thank you for sharing with us the Indonesian experience. And thank you also to Iman Toumi, Manager of the Algerian Investment Promotion Agency. Thank you for all the information you gave, especially when it comes to different opportunities of investment in different sectors in Algeria. Thank you so much. So let's take a photo, please. A group photo of this beautiful group of panelists. Thank you for participating to this session. And on behalf of the entire team, we would like to extend our thanks to all organizers, panelists, and contributors who played a vital role in success of the 13th edition of ISDB Group Private Sector Forum. We are deeply grateful for your time, energy, and experience, and we look forward to continuing the valuable engagement in the future. Thank you once again for making this edition a remarkable success. Ladies and gentlemen, between 3:30 and 4:30 p.m., the annual meetings press conference will take place at the press room conference, and after that, between 4:30 and 5 p.m., you can join the private sector forum press conference at the press room conference. Thank you very much. Shukran.